Alright, hey guys, I want to talk to you about something today. A lot of different combative schools popping up. Some of these guys have been around since before me, at least before my Redbeard page. Like I had said before, I've taught in the institutional level for many years before I started up Redbeard, but a lot of different combative schools out there, and I wanted to kind of make something known. We're not at odds with one another. Each one of us carries certain biases and certain preferences is probably the better word. We carry certain preferences like how much we rely on grappling versus how much we rely on stand-up, how much we rely on wrestling versus how much we rely on BJJ, things like this. Everybody is going to bring a certain preference based on their strong points, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But each one of us all carries the same kind of core concepts that are involved, and that is that BJJ is probably the best thing you're going to train for groundwork, and that BJJ can be utilized in a stand-up scenario. A lot of us feel very strongly and passionately about the fact that grappling does not start on the ground, it starts standing up. Just because I'm horizontal doesn't mean that all of a sudden when I go vertical those positions stop working. Alright? It's the same principles, it's the same concepts, everything is the same. The only difference is which direction gravity is pulling, which really has no bearing on the positions that I'm doing. So keep that in mind when you're looking at guys like C4 Combatives, John Valentine. You're looking at Tim Kennedy at Sheepdog Response. You're looking at Immediate Action Combatives. I'm sorry, I don't know the gentleman's name who runs that school, but I know Craig Douglas of ShivWorks actually trains out of that school, I believe. Believe that he just recently got his purple belt or brown belt, so congrats, Craig. But each one of us feel very strongly and passionately about the fact that BJJ, boxing, wrestling, all of these things are going to be the core fundamental things that you're going to rely upon in a combative scenario. Now, within that paradigm, some guys may gravitate a little heavier on the BJJ, or they may gravitate a little heavier on the boxing, based on their preferences, based on what they're good at. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's not a conflict between this guy over here that says, hey, you should punch a little more, this guy over here who says, hey, you need to grapple a little more. There's no conflict between us. It really just comes down to preferences. Guys prefer these positions over these positions. Guys prefer to be standing up versus being on the ground. Whatever. At that point, when we're talking about a civilian context where guys are not all kitted up and things like that, you have a little bit more freedom to do what you want. But the idea is that regardless of which way we have a tendency to maybe gravitate a little towards, all of us still feel strongly about the fact that groundwork is absolutely key, and that you can't neglect groundwork just because you don't want to be on the ground. That's exactly why you should train groundwork. By the same token, we all feel the same that grappling is not just a horizontal art. It's a vertical art when you're standing up as well. So each one of us has different preferences per se, but we all feel the same about the core concepts, by and large. So I don't want you guys to kind of adopt a certain amount of groupieism that says that, Red said this, and then, John said this, or what. Look, some of it is preferences within the field of combatives. Some of it is based on experience. Some of it is based on training. Some of it's based on injury. It is what it is. I mean, certain of us have been doing this long enough, we have certain injuries, there are certain things that we kind of steer away from to avoid aggravating those injuries. Certain of us have more strength or more cardio or whatever. The idea is that all of us feel like you should be training your weaknesses till they become your strength, and then you'll have a new set of weaknesses that you need to train. But by and large, we all understand the fact that inherently you are always going to have areas of weaknesses that need to be focused on and trained. So keep that in mind. Anyway, we're going to be doing some groundwork training on our Patreon page, particularly groundwork with a firearm, accessing that. I'm going to give you guys some drills and things like that. For you guys who aren't familiar, on the Patreon page we got 3 different tiers. Tier 1, we kind of cover positions. Tier 2, we cover positions, and what I actually do is I actually take you inside of a class, and as the students are actually doing the different positions that we're doing, or the techniques, if you're familiar with that term, as we're doing those positions, I'm going around and I'm correcting, I'm making adjustments, things like that. So it kind of, you know, they're asking questions about things that maybe they're having trouble doing, and then I'm giving them feedback. So you have a little bit more of a feedback type response. And then in the tier 3, what I have a tendency to do is I give more of the methodology, the key concepts, but I also give you guys specific drills. We do force on force and after action and things like that. And the reason that we do all of that in the tier 3 level is because the tier 3 level is really the train the trainer area. It's the area that we hope to be able to instill knowledge in guys who have a good foundation in maybe combatives or BJJ or boxing or whatever. We want to be able to pass that information on to them, and then be able to have them disseminate that information maybe to their martial arts school or within their group of preparedness or guys that they train with or whatever. So the tier 3 is really the train the trainer, where we go over a lot of the fundamental concepts and a lot of the mindset and the thinking that goes behind everything, because I really want guys to understand it's not just about do what I do, it's why am I doing it. So it gives you kind of a little bit of a breakdown there, but I wanted to kind of cover some things on the combatives world in general, and give you guys some things to think about there. There should not be any animosity between the guys. I have no problem whatsoever. You guys have heard me recommend C4 combatives before. I would recommend all the guys that I mentioned. All of these guys, you know, are awesome, well-vetted guys. Some of these guys with more experience than I have. So I have no problem recommending other guys, and what I would hope is ultimately the core focus is not for each one of us individually to grow our page or our company or whatever. At least that's not my focus. I do other work. This is something that I just do for fun. The key focus is for us to be able to make, to use Tim Kennedy's term, us be able to make those individuals out there that we're training that much harder to kill. We just had another, shooting / truck attack in New York, and these things are not going to be going away soon. So the reality is that terrorism is coming inside the United States. It's going to be here for a while, and the impetus is going to be on you to start training to protect your family, protect yourself, things like that. And all of this comes into basically having the intestinal fortitude to get in there, to get on the mat, to get punched in the face, to get shot, whether it be with Sims or with an airsoft, both of which hurt like hell. It's on you to get yourself prepared. All that we can do is provide for you the opportunity. There's a reason why I do this at the 3 different tier levels for next to nothing compared to what we charge for on a monthly basis or on a class basis. It's not to get rich. It's to be able to pass information on so that people can be that much better prepared. So anyway, wanted to give you guys that. You guys train hard. Check out the Patreon page if you haven't yet, and we'll see you.